Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Jason here. Today I have a preview playthrough for Defenders of the Wild. This one's from Outlandish Games, the publisher of Block by Block. It is a fully cooperative crisis management style game in the mold of a pandemic. In this one, you are playing adorable woodland creatures, but you are actually fomenting resistance. You are calling upon the denizens of the land, represented by your decks of cards, standing up to the encroaching might of these mechs as they walk around, build walls and factories, and despoil the environment. This is not the type of game where you will achieve ultimate victory by wiping the mechs totally off the map. They're kind of inevitable. The game wants to put you in a framework of a larger struggle where you are trying to turn some of the factories to your side, build enough of your encampments so that you can take a stand against the encroaching mechs. I'm going to be demonstrating a solo playthrough in which you are playing two characters but that have one hand of cards. If you're interested in more information, the link to the crowdfunding project will be in the show notes below. So without further ado, let's get to some channel announcements and a solo playthrough for Defenders of the Wild. This is the One Stop Co-op Shop, a gaming empire, and your one stop for solo and cooperative gaming goodness. So here is a solo game laid out. I am playing two factions, the Council and the Order. I draw a single hand of 3 cards comprised of cards from both of the decks. Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to separate those out. But no, in the solo game, this is one hand of cards out of which I'm playing. In multiplayer, each player would have an opening hand of 3 cards as indicated by the support wheel over here. On any player's particular turn, they're going to look at their hand of cards and pick one to play. And then they are going to get a set of action points and also fire off a power. I'll demonstrate that more fully when we get to the actual playthrough. I'm focusing on this now because this is very relevant to this support wheel. This is so much of what determines what you need to do to win. With these action points, I'm going to be able to take a number of actions on the board. As I do those heroic things, I'm going to advance my support marker representing my popularity in the land. Once I'm here, I can build a camp somewhere in one of my home hexes. I build the camp, reset the support marker, redraw. So as I build more camps, my hand tie is going to increase, and then I do that. That is the core loop of the game. One of the essential victory conditions of the game is that all of the players, and in my particular case, both of my factions, need to build this last camp. So as you can see, I have a lot of work to do. Before I get into some of those heroic actions you could do to build support, I need to talk about movement. This game wants to put the player in the mindset of little versus big. You are a plucky upstart, and you are using your knowledge of the land, sticking and moving in order to get done what you want to do. So when I play my card and I get my action points, one of the things that I can do is move. Normally, movement is 1 hex. However, you'll notice that there are different factions involved in the different cards. These are your quote-unquote active defenders. Depending on which one I play, that will enable different movement options. So let's say I wanted to get here with 1 movement. I want to clear off this pollution, and I want to also visit this neighboring camp. I can call upon the assistance of the mountain dwellers. Hey, I know some secret tunnels. I can get you over here and get your item, no problem. Thanks, boss. I really appreciate that. So playing this as the active defender turns this into its quote-unquote home terrain, which allows me extra movement options. So that is 1 move. Now, I might want to do that because landing on a camp, any of the 4 color camps, and no matter how many players there are, you always have 4 colors of camps. You'll get their snazzy item. So landing in the yellow would land me the yellow item. That is great, a little bit of extra power for later. But then again, this being a pandemic style game, there's always going to be things that are pulling me in multiple directions, especially crises. So I'm noticing that there's a build up of pollution over here with more to come. So I may want to, instead of calling upon the aid of the mountains, play a card that is in my home territory, which happens to be the forest. I say, I think you should deal with the crisis first, before it explodes us all! I play that card. Now this is the active defender's home terrain, and for one action, I can travel as many contiguous hexes as are available and get to where I want to get to and start dealing with this pollution. Those are the kind of movement options you're going to encounter on every single turn. In order to get support, though, you need to affect the board. So what can we do? So if I were to be over here and clean off a pollution, that would get me 1 support. Or if instead I wanted to take out a mech, I could do that too. Mechs aren't that bothersome. They're there to get in the way. They only really matter when you're trying to do a thing. I'll demonstrate that in just a second. But for now, no. I can use an action to get rid of a mech and get another support. Yay! As the game goes on, the automated opponent is going to fire off these engines. They're going to run around making these walls. Once they enclose a hex, that is going to enable them to build a factory. One of the game's win conditions is building all of these factories. You don't want that to happen. But I have ways to fight back. So I can't enter a factory as it is because there are walls. However, I am able to put in some blasting, put a breach in the wall. That gets us support. Yay! In addition, if I enter into the factory, which I can now because of the breach, and I clear out the mechs that are in here, I can do what the game calls rewilding, turn a factory into a nice post-apocalyptic garden. How wonderful is that? And that also gets 1 support. And so that is all the heroic stuff. Here is the bad news. Whenever you do anything near a mech, whether in the same space as a mech in the field, called a hunter, or adjacent to a mech in a factory, which is called a sniper, if I do anything, if I clear off pollution or build a camp or even move, they get a shot at me. So I would roll. This would be a result that would be the sniper, hence that little symbol, and also the mech would kill me too. In melee, there is a chance to hit me with these 2 thwaps right there, resulting in damage. Depending on how much damage they do to me, either 1 or 2, my meter starts to fill up. If I have to take another damage and I'm already full, that is bad news. I would respawn. That is okay. However, I would lose one of my active defenders. So you take a card and then you put it under one of these set aside tokens. If you have to put another card under the same token, then that is yet another of the game's lose conditions. So try not to do that too often. However, the game does give you resources to survive. One action, which is a heal, would clean off all your damage no matter how much of it accumulates. And also, and this is super important to remember, this is why you want to build camps all over the place. There's an action called a regroup, which is just teleport from wherever you are to a friendly camp. That does trigger a response from the bot, so use that carefully, but it definitely allows you to go into a dangerous area, do what you need to do, and then zip right back out. Like I said, little versus big, skirmish. Take that, Goliath. There are going to be times where you wish you had extra actions on that one particular turn so that you can prevent disaster. The game gives you an out with that too. So once you have finished all your actions, fired off your special power, the game gives you the option of using one of your other cards of a matching faction. You play that becomes the new active defender, and you get one more action to do on your turn. That is a heck of a waste of actions. You punt over 2 of them, but like I said, sometimes when you got to do something right now, it might be worth the sacrifice. And so there's definitely more to discuss. I haven't talked in detail about the powers. I mentioned the items, but they do different things. I'll demonstrate all that as I get into the playthrough. They're basically extra resources, extra actions to get things done you need to get done around the board. I'll demonstrate that as I get to the playthrough. After every single player activation, we turn over a bot card. There are 6 of them, and they are generally 3 different types. You have ways to deploy mechs, which will get in your way. You have your engine card, which is going to build more walls and move the engines around. And then you have your pollution card, which is going to get more of these tokens out Anytime there's 3 in a certain space, that will make these toxic sites. Getting 6 toxic sites out on the board is yet another lose condition. Classic crisis management cooperative play. Many ways to lose, narrow path to victory. So let's dive into the playthrough now that we have covered most of the basic rules. We're ready to go. All right, so I'm going to start with orange. I drew a hand of 2 yellow and an orange. I'm going to do that move that I demonstrated in the tutorial. I don't like this thing over here. One of the pollution cards says that they're going to belch out pollution from these vents over here, if you can see that. So that's in danger. And so let us use the 2 action points from Fire on the Librarian. Oh my, clean that up, will you? Absolutely, sir. All right, so we are going to play that. We have 1 action point to zip through that corridor and get here, and then another action to gain support. And all the denizens cheer at the removal of pollution. Yay, thank you, thank you. You haven't seen nothing yet. In addition, we talked about those card powers. Here we go. So, reveal, which is at the card play. So I probably should have done that first, but that's okay. All factions gain maps. So these items are 1 shot out of action economy use, so I could do them for free. So the map, now available to both of my characters, that allows me to reposition at any other similar hex. So if I was on a forest tile, I could use this to appear at any other forest tile on the map without using an action point. Very useful. All of the items are universally useful. So this bread allows me to get an extra action. This bottle rocket allows me to kill a mech. And this bottle of curative potion allows me to heal. So I'm going to want to visit the camps and play the relevant cards to get as many of these in there as possible. It's just more action resource. But doing that so close to the snipers is going to get some reprisal. Hey, look at that. That is only the melee roll. The snipers miss my organizer. All right, so after every activation, we get a card pull, we get mechs. So first one, each engine deploys 1 mech. I have 2 engines, and towards their jagged side, they go poop and poop. That's no good because the hunters, which are the mechs on the board, are going to pursue the active player. They move 2 habitats. This recently pooped out mech is going to go over here and surround my character. Nothing bad is going to happen now, but it might be the indication to skedaddle sooner rather than later. If they were mechs on any of these 4 hexes, they would move the 1 square to the non-active player, but we don't have to worry about that right now. And that's the bot turn. All right, it is the next turn. I have 2 cards from yellow in hand. The only way to draw cards is to build camps. You get that big card draw, and then you can keep on going. So the game is pushing you towards that. I could, if I wanted to, activate orange, but that would be a blind draw off the top of the deck, which could be good or bad. I'd rather take the bird in hand, at least for now. All right, so let's go ahead. It doesn't matter which one I do right now. So 1 power would be ignore that 2 symbol when rolling damage, or take a move action after destroying a mech, neither of which I'm going to do. But let's go ahead and do that one for the 3 action points. And we're building support. I'm surrounded by gunk, so that is exactly what I'm going to take care of. So that is 1, 2, 3. No mechs around. I am peaceful. That is 2 support with my 3 actions, and also making my way towards this area where I can get that particular item, and also destroying that mech. All right, so I have 1 lonely card left, which allows me to take a move action after destroying a mech. Let's see if I'll use that. Don't think so. I got a plan for this turn. So that is my last card in my hand. I'm going to operate yellow. But first, I'm going to use the map. So the map allows me to reposition at any terrain on the board that is similar. So that is going to pop me right there. So let's go ahead and go 1. We are going to destroy that mech for 2. Let's see how badly I get hurt on this one. That got me 1 damage. Ow, that hurt. But it also got me the support. And the reason I use the map is because I wanted to be able to get my hand size expanded, my hand full of cards, by building a camp. Camps can only be built in colors where that is matching the organizer. So I wanted to make sure I got that camp down there. And that allows me to fill my hand size. 4 cards, that is from the organizer deck that I used to build the camp. So I have 4 yellow cards. That seems a little bit unbalanced. When is orange going to get to go? Wait a minute, you are yellow and orange. It doesn't really matter. Use yellow, use these cards, build up the orange, balance that back and forth. You'll be able to have plenty of cards to do what you want to do. All right, now it is pollution. Players on or adjacent to toxic sites take 1 damage. There is no toxic site. That's why I deployed you there, so I don't get a toxic site. Then factory spread pollution. So eventually I'm going to have multiple factories out on the board, but for now I only have the 1. In the middle, you see those vents right there, 1, 1, and 1. That is had toxic site written all over it had you not interceded. Well done, sir. So I think I'm good to keep orange there for the pollution buildup, and then he'll escape. So let's go ahead and do more things with yellow. All right, so we are going to play a 2 action point card. That's not that great. It's either 4-3 or 2-2 is bad, but the power. All factions gain bread. All factions gain bread. So yellow gains the bread as well as orange. So I only have 2 action points this turn, but I banked a couple of action points for subsequent turns. Worth it. Also, it is a orange card, so I get to use that as the tunnel and then land over here and get rid of that for 1 support and a crowd cheers. Yay! We saw mechs, we saw pollution, and now we see engines. So first thing, if any habitats are enclosed, which isn't even close, build 1 factory. Engines advance and build 2 walls. And that's determined by this marker over here. So I'm going to be at the 1 gear side or the 2 gear side. I start on the 1. As you can see, these mechs have a 1 gear and a 2 gear side. So that just determines where they go. So they are going to go 1, 2, and you see what they're doing. They are built to enclose stuff. And then this engine is going to go here and here. Hey, get away from me. Get out of the way, woodland creature. They don't actually do anything to the creatures. They're just there to lay some track. So the reason I spent last turn bypassing this one and ending up over here is because I wanted to make my way towards the village of the mountain folk. So I get to use the 4. I ignore this thing. Take the first player token. There is no first player token in solo. I'm the eternal first player. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Which nets me 2 support. Yay, yay, yay. And also, because I ended in that village, I get the bottle rocket, which is going to allow me to kill a mech in an adjacent space. There's a little bit of blowback, but it doesn't matter. A worthy sacrifice when I get to it. So here is the next bot card, pollution. More pollution, but this is the pollution with the toggle. So this is how the bot represents not just being dumb and circling around the same one. They will now change directions and go towards their 2 side now. If they went towards 1, they would have completed this and I would have gotten a factory here. But instead, they're going towards their 2 side, which means 1, 2, 2 factory walls. All right, so let's keep going. I'm going to use Bountiful Harvest. Ongoing gain support when any camp is built. So when Orange decides to re-enter the fray, they are going to lend support to Yellow, but that might not matter too much. That's okay. So we're just going to go over here. We're going to get rid of that and max out our support. That's why getting that extra support might not matter too much. I'm going to use my last action to heal. That fills up pretty fast, especially with what I have in mind in a couple of turns. All right, it is the engine's go. No factories are eligible to be built, but we got the 1, 2, moving that factory walls in there. You get the drill. All right, it is time for Orange to go. I do have the 1 yellow card, but we already have the bread active. I'll save that for when I use the bread. So let's go ahead and blind pull off of the Orange deck. All right, we got the Controlled Blaze. Yes! Destroy 2 mechs in 1 action. Roll damage, gain 2 support. Love it. Just so happen to be in a space with 2 mechs. Let's get rid of both of those. Gonna go ahead and roll some damage. The damage does come from the snipers. The snipers do hit me for 1. That is 1 damage, but I do get the 2 support for my second action. Boop! Let's go build one of those things. But wait, we can't build it there. We have to move. And what does moving trigger? Another shot. Boom. Ow! My butts! No, no, protect the organizer's butts at all costs. Give him support. Give him the ability to keep going with a whole clean butt. Yeah, give him support. Support his butts. Support his butts. Hooray! Draw up to a nice full hand of 4 cards. The game got rid of mechs, and now they are going to put on some more mechs. Well, I should say the game didn't get rid of them. I got rid of them. But we get more, and we also get some movement. They never move out of the center, so they're going to stay right there. And also, even if this mech was in range, they couldn't move because of the walls in the way. Ha ha! Field of active resistance. You shall not penetrate. All right, so let's go ahead and continue going with orange. So we're going to play the Beekeeper. Reveal. Choose a faction to gain any item. Oh, I like the sound of that. That's going to be yellow, and they are going to gain this healing, because I have a feeling yellow might want to set up and do some things in there. And then orange has use of their map token. So they are going to appear here. That was no action so far spent. So let's go ahead and move 1 for 1 action. That allows, because I'm visiting this camp, to get the healing, which is going to be really much more important. Mechs are coming, and we got 1 to rebuild support. That brings me up to 1 support. And should I end the turn near a mech? Nah, let's go ahead and keep cleaning. Ugh, factories are a-coming. So we didn't get that toggle. I like when the toggle kind of like sends them all over the place. Didn't do that this time. So what happening is, so then it goes here. It obviously can't go there, so it does the game what it calls a reset. It ends up in the middle and finishes its route. So that is now primed for a factory. And this one is going to do the same thing. So we are going to put down the finishing and put them up here. Now, the beginning of the engine turn is when you build a factory. So we skip that for now. We did the second part, Adventures Advance, and build 2 walls, and then we deploy the reset engines. So the reset engines are basically, they just kind of like come out according to where the arrow is pointing. Actually, the arrow is pointing this way, so they all deploy that way. So that's fine. The next engine card that pops up, that's when we're going to build 1 factory. Notice specifically 1 factory, and then the next factory is going to come out. So I have a little bit of time, but I know where my next factories are going to appear. And so it is orange's turn again. Look what happened. I forgot that they're damaged. They're so devoted to the cause. It's like, just don't, sit down, heal yourself up. Okay, we got some 3 actions. Choose a faction to gain any item. You, sir, are going to gain the bottle rocket. And you are going to sit there and heal. For 1 action. And we are going to do a 2 support turn. We're going to go ahead and clean that pollution and set up a breach at this wall. I know that a factory is coming, so I'm setting up to be able to raid that factory right away when it appears. All right, here are the second engine card. There we go. If any habitats are enclosed, build 1 factory. So how that works is that you actually remove all of these walls. That's really essential to do so you don't have a lot of clunkiness when it comes to putting that down there. That's nice and clean right there. The breach, though, does stay. The rules are very explicit that the breach stays, which is why I spent the action. The mechs are still going towards 2, so we're going to go over here and then reset and set up another potential factory. And then this one is going to move over here. And work on yet another factory. Ugh. And then this bad boy gets redeployed over to the other side. Eventually, these will all fill up and they'll get deployed kind of further and further out. There's nothing you can really do about that. You're just doing the best you can with what you can destroy. Which is to destroy that factory over there. It is mine. Set that up. So I'm going to play a card. And it doesn't really matter in terms of the power. All I know is I get 3 actions, and I'm going to just go for it and use the 4th. And I'm going to use this too. So we got a bottle rocket, and that is going to destroy this mech over here. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of blowback, so I have to make sure that I don't get hit in the face. I do. Good thing I had healed the full. I am at 1 damage. So now I actually can do my turn. So that is going to go inside here. I don't trigger anything for movement because there's no snipers. The sniper's over here. Oh, did I forget that? Yep, 2 more mechs. That happened when I put down the factory. Okay, so now I'm going to do my next action, which is going to be to take this thing out. I do it. What does it do to me? There's nothing I can do about that. That is 2 damage overall. Wait a minute, there is something I can do about that. Good thing I took the time to take that out so I could come in with a nice clean slate. And so that was 3 actions, or if that was 2 actions anyway. For my third action, let's go ahead and rewild this. Look at that nice post-apocalyptic scene. The machines are dead. We are making flowers begin to bloom once again. And the last thing I'm going to do, I am pretty likely to get the mech card, which is going to kind of converge everybody on my one spot. So retreat, regroup. Literally my favorite action of the game, because you go in, you do this kind of kamikaze mission, or like Final Fantasy VII Shinra style, going in there, blowing up the factory, and then I'm out of there on the train home to safety. Heck yeah. So I wanted to get to a rewilding turn in order to demonstrate the full capability of what this game has to offer. So I did that, and I will call that a demo. Most of the rest of the game build upon that basic idea where you're drawing more cards, bigger hand, more things in the board, more obstacles. So that's where the game really changes because you're going to have way more obstacles. It becomes more important to find corridors, set up your proper breaches. There's going to be even more mechs. The items become more important. The game really builds upon itself and has a nice sense of escalation. So let me go ahead and give some thoughts. I normally don't do so for a prototype, but this feels pretty close to the full game. My one niggle about this game is that there's a lot of little things to remember. So, the mechs in here are called snipers. The mechs out here are called hunters. If you're a newer player, it's like, okay, what's a mech, what's a hunter, what's a sniper, etc. I had to struggle a little bit with the idea of like, okay, playing a card means kind of affects the movement. If I play a yellow card and I move my orange meeple, I could see a newer player kind of being like, what's going on here? Don't quite understand that. And I'm saying newer player, because I think that is going to be the audience that's going to be attracted to a game like this. It is a pandemic style, maybe pandemic plus a little bit, cooperative game. It's very attractive. So I imagine, someone who isn't as familiar with heavier games is going to be attracted to this. Just to kind of, give you a flag if you're showing this to somebody, you might have to kind of patiently go through the rules, explain exceptions a couple of times in order to get them to the door of the game. So on the positive end, the movement options, the fact that I'm able to, go into spaces and do what I got to do, use the regroup action. I got the items that let me fly around the board. The choice of playing cards is interesting in terms of, do I want to go this way and play this type of card, do this, or go that way, play that other type of card and do Y. This is a great movement puzzle, which is exactly what I'm looking for in one of these crisis management co-ops. Interesting options for movement and then actions later. In addition, thematically, you can read a lot of exciting moments here, setting up the breach and going in and rewilding it. That's a nice little staging area. The game kind of builds towards that over multiple turns, and it comes up with a nice climax in terms of rewilding the factory. Can really play it up at the table. So all in all, I am a fan of this style of game. I'm a fan of the motif of the little versus big. So I strongly consider if you would want to check this out, see if it is a good fit for your gaming collection. As always, it is your choice, your money. I hope that I have helped you make an informed decision. This is Jason with the One Stop Co-op Shop, reminding you that we'll see you at the next stop.